Welcome to a very interesting session on operator overloading in ePathshala. In previous modules, you have seen that C++ or any other object oriented programming language allows you to create your own data types, and that has lot of advantages. But if you have tried attempting writing program using your own data type, you might have realized that creating your own data type does give you a lot of advantages, but at the same time, at certain points, using your own data type does not give you the similar ease that you get when you are using standard data types. Can you be content with the fact that your own defined data types, are inferior to standard data types? You should not be, and you don't need to be, because C++, by means of providing operator overloading, allows you to modify your class to make the use of a user defined data type with the similar ease with which you use your standard data type. So today we are going to discuss about operator overloading. By end of this session, you will be able to understand what is operator overloading, why operator overloading. Also, by end of this session, you will be able to overload various operators for your class. Let us begin our journey of learning operator overloading. As I discussed before, the C++ by means of constructs like class and structure allows you to create your own data type. For example, if in your application you want to store time, you can create a class named time, and to store time you can create an object of this class. This will allow you to store the time in a single variable, that is an object of time class, and you would not have to define 3 different variables, namely hours, minutes and second to store that time. Creation of this data type will make lot of things simpler for you. C++ empowers you by allowing you to create your own data type, but the data type thus created does have lot of limitations in many ways. The first limitation is that you cannot use the operators provided by the language to perform operations like arithmetic operation, relational operators, logical operations and any other kind of an operation. If you want to perform such operations, you have to use the methods that you have defined in class. For example, if you want to find the difference of 2 time objects, refer to a time class that we have defined. To find this particular difference, you would have to write a statement like time difference is equal to end time subtract time start time. This statement will do the job, but this statement is not as readable as the statement time difference is equal to end time minus start time. The second limitation is that we are able to read and write standard data type using objects cin and cout, but we cannot read the objects of our class in the similar fashion. For example, if you want to read 2 integer variables x and a real variable y, you can read them as cin x, cin y. But if you want to read an object of time class, let us say we have defined object of time class as now, we will not be able to read this particular object as cin now, and we will not be able to display this object as cout now. The third limitation is that implicit type conversion is not provided for user defined data types. For example, if you want to assign an integer variable to a time object, the C++ will not allow you to do that, as in C++ the implicit conversion of integer from time class is not defined. So, due to all those things, we are not able to use our own defined data type with as much ease as we are able to use standard data types, but as we said before, C++ allows you to overload these operators, and with little more work we can modify a time class to make all of these things work for us. the first two things, the first two limitations, that is allowing an operator to be used for our own data type and reading or writing our own, the object of our own data type using C in and C out, can be done by appropriately overloading operators, which is the topic of this module and the next module. And the third limitation can be overcome by defining appropriate constructors and conversion functions that we will discuss in later module. Now, let us see that how to overload operator. We can overload binary operator as well as we can also overload unary operators. First, let us see how to overload binary operator. Now, if we want to find the difference of two time objects, it is possible for us to overload minus operator. Now, how do we, what is meant by overloading minus operator? Operator overloading means overloading an operator with an additional task. For example, the minus operator has a few tasks already defined for this, like the task of finding the difference of two integers, the task of finding the difference of two real values has already been defined for minus operator. It is possible for us to define yet another task of finding the difference of two time objects. Now, this process of overloading the operator with yet another task is called operator overloading. So, let us see that how to overload these operators. For overloading a binary operator or unary operator, we can use special function, this we call as operator function. We will see the syntax of overloading a binary operator and unary operator one by one. We will begin with understanding how to overload a binary operator. The syntax for overloading binary operator is as follows: return type, then the keyword operator, which is followed by the operator to be overloaded, and one argument. This argument is the second operand of the binary operator. Now, this overloaded function is going to be the member of the time class, and we know that the member function of any class requires an object for its invocation. So, now in case of binary operator, we have two operands. Here we have two operands, end time and the start time. End time is the first operand and start time is the second operand. Now, this overloaded function is the member function of the time class. It needs an object to be object for its invocation. In our case, the end time is the object which will be invoking that overloaded function, and the second operand, that is start time, will be passed as an argument. Let us see how to overload this minus operator for a time class for finding the difference of two time objects. Now, this function has a return type as time, because when we find the difference of two time objects, the result is again going to be a time object. So, this function is going to return a time object. As we can see in that particular function, we are finding the difference of two time objects, but the function takes only one object as an argument. This is so because the first argument will be used for invoking the function, hence it will be implicitly passed to the function. So, the prototype for this function is time, that is the return type, operator keyword followed by minus, that is the operator that we are trying to overload, and as an argument the second operand for this minus operator. This will finally compute the difference between the invoking object and the object that we have passed as an argument, and will return the object that would be the difference of these two objects. Once we add this function to our class, we will be able to write a statement like time difference is equal to end time minus start time. Now, when we are able to use this operator to perform the difference, our code will be significantly simplified. It is not that we can overload this operator only for finding the difference of two time objects. It is also possible for us to overload this operator to find the difference of time object with some predefined standard data type. For example, let us say if we want to compute something like time difference is equal to current time minus 5, we can overload this minus operator yet again. This time this will be overloaded to find the difference of a time object and an integer variable. If we want to do so, we will have to define another function. The prototype of this function will be, again when we want to find the difference between a time object and an integer variable, the result is going to be a time object. So, the return type for this function also will be a time object. The first operand, that is the time object, will be the object which will invoke this overloaded function, and the second operand, that is the integer, will be passed as an argument. So, the syntax goes like time, operator keyword followed by the minus operator that we are trying to overload, and one integer value as an argument. Once we add this function to our class, we will be able to write a statement like time difference is equal to current time minus 5. In this case, current time will be the object which will invoke the overloaded function, and 5 will be passed as an argument. This function will find the difference of time and 5 and will return the resultant time as a return type. Let us see few more operators that we can meaningfully overload for our class. Few more binary operators which we can meaningfully overload for a time class. It makes sense to compare time objects. We may be interested in finding out that out of these two time objects, which represents a smaller time and which represents a larger time. We may be interested in finding it out whether two time objects are representing the same time. If we want to do so, what we can do? We can overload relational operators. Let us see how to overload greater than operator. We would overload this operator for finding that whether the first time object is greater than the other one or not. How we will overload this operator? The syntax for this overloaded operation will be like integer, return type integer, because we would want to return as a from this particular function that whether the first object is greater than the other one or not. So, this function will return 1 if the first time object happens to be larger than the second one, and will return 0 if it is not larger than the second object. So, return type. So, the prototype of this function is integer, operator keyword followed by greater than operator that we are trying to overload, and time object. This overloaded function, as we have discussed before, is implemented as a member function. Therefore, the first object that we are trying to compare will be the invoking object, hence passed implicitly, and the second object will be passed as an argument. This function will compare first object with the second object. Now, let us say we have two time objects, let us T1 and T2. So, once we add this function to our time class, we will be able to write a statement like if T1 greater than T2. In this case, the T1 will invoke the overloaded function and T2 will be passed as an argument. If T1 happens to be greater than the T1, it will return 1, and if it is not greater than the T2, it will return 0. In a similar fashion, we can also overload equality operator. In this case also, the return type will be an integer. We would use operator keyword followed by equality operator that we are trying to overload, and will pass the second operand as an argument. If I write a statement like T1 equal to T2, the T1 will invoke the overloaded equality function, equality operator, and the T2 will be passed as an argument. If these two time object happens to be the same, this function will return a value 1. If they are not equal, the function will return 0. Once we add these two functions to our time class, we will be able to write a code like if T1 greater than T2, display T1 is greater than the T2, else if T1 equal to T2, display both the time objects are equal, and else display that the first time object is smaller than the second time object. We can also overload shortened operators. I am sure you can recall what is shortened operators. Let us say if I have to write a statement such as A is equal to A plus B, I can use a shortened operator plus equal to, and the similar statement can be now written as A plus equal to B. We can overload these shortened operators for our class. For a time class, let us try overloading a shortened operator minus equal to. Now, in this case, the first operand only will be modified, that is the sum of the first operand and the second operand will be stored back into the first operand. Therefore, the return type of this function will be void. So, the prototype will go like this: void keyword operator followed by the shortened operator that we are trying to overload minus equal to, and as an argument one time object. Once we, and this function will compute the difference of first time object and the second time object, and the first time object will be updated with the difference of these two time objects. Once we add this function to our time class, we will be able to write a statement like this: time T1, if we have two objects of time class T1 and T2, we will be able to write a statement like T1 minus equal to T2. It will be interesting to see that some of the operators like array subscript operator, function call operator, comma operator, how these operators can also be overloaded meaningfully for our classes. Let us try to see that how we can overload array subscript operator meaningfully for a time class. Have a look at the overloaded function whose return type is int, and we are overloading operator followed by the array subscript operator, and as an argument a character variable. Now, this function when overloaded will allow you to get hours, minutes or second depending on what character you pass as a subscript, which means if you pass h as a subscript, then the hours of the time object will be returned. If you pass a character m, then the minute stored in the time object will be returned, and if you pass a character s, then the seconds in the time object will be returned. Let us have a look how to use this particular function. Let us say if you have a time object defined as T1, we can call this particular function as cout. T1 second is T1 as within the subscript s, character s. Now, this will return seconds in the time object and that will be displayed. Similarly, to display the minutes, we will say T1 within subscript we will pass the character m, and to display the hours stored in object T1 we will pass character h. This will return an hours stored in T1 and that will be printed. If we find that even function call operator can be meaningfully used for a class, we can try overloading that operator as well. We may not find this particular operator suitable for time class, but there can be a user defined data type wherein this operator can meaningfully be overloaded. Let us try overloading function call operator with a class matrix which we can define to store or represent a matrix. For such a class, this operator can be meaningfully overloaded. Let us have a look at the class. If we define a class matrix which has two data members, one a two dimensional array of dimension 20 by 20 and two integer variables row and column. We can have other relevant functions into this class like constructors and the function for reading and writing. That is not the the point of focus here, we can just see that how we can overload this function call operator for this class. Have a look at the function that we have overloaded in matrix class. It is int operator followed by function call operator having two integer arguments r and c. This function will return the element stored in the matrix as at rth row and cth column. Once this function is added to a matrix class, we can use this operator on the object of matrix class as follows. Let us say if we define an object M of matrix class to display an element stored at the 4th row and the 5th column in the matrix M, we can you call this particular function as follows: cout M 4 5. Now, in this case M is the invoking object which will invoke this overloaded function, and 4 and 5 will be passed in as an argument. This function will return the element stored at the 4th column and the 5th column. An object on which we invoke this function call operator is also called function object. Let us see, we just discussed that discuss few examples of overloading binary operators. We can also overload unary operators. Unary operators are the operators which take a single argument or which operate on a single argument. Binary operators operate on two arguments and a unary operator operates on a single argument. It is possible for us to overload unary operators as well. I am sure you are able to recall the unary operators C++ providers, the most popular ones being increment operator and the decrement operator. Increment operator specified as plus plus increments a integer variable by 1. If we find suitable, we may try overloading this operator also for our class. Let us go back to our time class and see that how we can overload this increment operator for our time class. Let us say we want to overload this increment operator for a class so that the time stored in the time object gets incremented by 1 second. What would be the prototype of overloaded function when we overloaded using unary operator? It will be return type, keyword operator, followed by the operator that we are trying to overload and no arguments. Why no arguments? Because the unary operator has only single argument, and this single argument will be the invoking object which will invoke the overloaded operator and will get implicitly passed to that function, hence no need of passing any argument. So, if we want to overload this increment operator for a time class, it would be like, if we want the incremented value to be returned as an object, then the return type can be time. But if we want the object itself to be modified, we do not need to return any value. Therefore, the return type will be void, then we will use a keyword operator followed by operator keyword plus plus, that is the operator that we are trying to overload, and no argument. Inside this function, the second will be incremented for the object that has invoked that function. But in case of these increment and decrement operator, C++ offers these operator in two flavors. The first one being the prefix version of it and the other one being the postfix version of it. Let us say that we define a time object time now. I can use this operator on now object as now plus plus or maybe plus plus now. What if we want to overload both the versions? If we try to think what should be the prototype for prefix version and what should be the prototype for postfix version, we would see that both the prototype for both the versions will turn out to be identically same. Can we have two functions in the same scope having the same prototype? No, we cannot, because that will create an ambiguous situation for compiler. Then what do we do? Either we cannot overload those both the versions, but again that again can be seen as a limitation, but C++ provides us a way of overloading both the versions of this increment operator. C++ allows you to define a different prototype for postfix version and a different prototype for prefix version. The prefix version of increment operator can be overloaded as follows: return type operator followed by the plus unary operator and no argument. A postfix version of can be overloaded as return type keyword operator followed by and an integer as an argument. This integer as an argument is a dummy argument which has no role in the function, but it has been passed simply to be to allowing the compiler to be able to distinguish between prefix version and the postfix version. So, if we overload this operator for a time class, the prototype will be void operator no argument for prefix version and void operator an integer argument for the postfix version. We can have a look at these two overloaded versions of operator. The decrement operator also comes in two flavors, namely prefix version and the postfix version. This prefix and the postfix version for decrement operator can also be overloaded as we have overloaded operator in exactly the similar fashion. The postfix version will have one integer argument, which again will be a dummy argument, which will not have any role in the function, will just be defined for the compiler to be able to distinguish between prefix version and the postfix version. So, the operator that can be overloaded, the list of the operator which can be overloaded is long, but with these examples I am sure you will be able to overload any operator which you believe is suitable for your class or will have a meaningful application for the data type that you have defined. Barring few operators, almost all operators can be overloaded, but there are few operators which cannot be overloaded. The list of the operators which cannot be overloaded is as given: dot operator for member access, difference member to class operator, dereference member to class operator, scope resolution operator, size of operator, conditional ternary operator, casting operators, and hash tokens for macro preprocessor. You may ask a question, or you might think that why these operators are not allowed to be overloaded. Well, think about overloading member access operator dot. Now, if you overload this operator with some different meaning, this will give a new meaning to member access function, which will create lot of ambiguity for compiler, which will either result into serious errors or will make the job of compiler very complex. The job of overloading operator is as such a complex job for compiler. Perhaps because of that reason, many programming, not most, but many programming languages like Java do not provide operator overloading. So, this much liberty of C++ of not allowing these small set of operators to be overloaded perhaps is justified. operator overloading is not mandatory. We can do without operator overloading. There is not even a single application which cannot be written if we do not have the facility of operator overloading. But operator overloading has a significant advantage of making our code very simple and easy to understand. But this advantage of operator overloading will be fully